We are back, people. What is up? I think we're live. Okay, cool. Going over, some preseason week 2 observations. I've seen a lot of the film. I've seen all the film. Watched a lot of players in specific. I can go over all that stuff. And we got to go over some of the injury updates. Things that I think, going into the 53, because I'm planning on making a 53, like one of my first 53 rosters breakdowns very soon. Gonna do that probably on Thursday. Probably start with the injuries because there's so many. The Dolphins have a million injuries. Probably the main one that feels like it's actually is Craycraft. River Craycraft got injured. So what's up with River? It seems he has an upper body injury. He got it on that touchdown. It says it's not season ending, but it seems like it's the most serious one. Like when McDaniel talked about it, like the other ones are either like week to week or minor. But River is going to miss some time. And to me, that kind of locks up the wide receiver room. We'll talk about the wide receiver room because it seemed like someone was going to get left out, whether that was Ezukanma, Barrios, like Malik Washington, all those guys at the end of the roster. But that seems like it's going to be those three, and then obviously Tyreek and Waddle. And now the other big question is OBJ going to be on the initial roster, or is he going to start on the PUP? Because if he starts on the PUP, obviously we're expecting Craycraft to miss some initial time. But then that would leave us with just 5 wide receivers. And I wouldn't be surprised if they actually just went with kept 5 wide receivers on the initial roster and then kept a 4th tight end, have Fortson, because he can give you wide receiver reps. And then that would allow them to keep the tight ends that they want. But man, this cut down is going to be absolutely insane. Let me go here real quick. But yeah, River getting hurt absolutely sucks. Like he was having a really good camp. Definitely not what I wanted to see. Hey man, I love your videos. Appreciate that, man. Tournamenty. Appreciate you coming in here, leaving a comment. But yeah, going back to River real quick, that I think is a big loss. Hopefully it's not like a super long time, but from just like the way McDaniel was talking about it, it feels like it's going to be like a decent amount of time. I know there were some other, David Long avoided major injury, which is good because he got injured in that preseason game. Braylon Sanders is week to week. Chris Brooks is in concussion protocol. That will be interesting because I wonder how that will play out with Brooks. If that maybe, since he's in concussion protocol, I imagine he won't play in the preseason week 3 game. I wonder if they're going to be able to get him on the practice squad or he'll go on an injury list. Cam Smith is week to week, so we'll see how that is looking. I know Poyer is back from injury. Bonner and Ramsey are back. I think Jeff Wilson was back. Fortson and Wright were in non-contact jerseys, so they're back as well. Then a few people are still out, like Javon Holland's out, Benito's out, Ogba's out, Cam, Smith is out. I talked about him. Anthony Walker's out, which I think is another one to talk about when it comes, because he's missed quite some time, Anthony Walker, and we saw David Long and Jordan Brooks. Long's fine, like I talked about. But if Walker's starting the year on, because I'm a big fan of Anthony Walker, and I hope he sees playing time this season, because I think he's a nice linebacker 3 to have. But if he's out and starts the year on one of the injury lists, that opens up a spot for one of these end of the roster guys, like the Duke Rileys, the Channing Tindalls, the Curtis Bolton. And Curtis Bolton apparently had a really good practice today. He's had 2 quality preseason games. I'll probably make a video film breakdown on Curtis Bolton pretty soon. But he's been out there flying around, and I just feel like didn't really expect much from him. He seemed like a camp body, but seems like he has a chance of seeing some pretty quick playing, or not playing time, but chance of making the roster, especially if Walker isn't on the initial roster because of the injury stuff. That's I think most of the injuries. There's some other stuff, I'm pretty sure. They made roster moves. They got Sean Harlow and Willie Snead are on the reserve list, injured list, so they're done. Dolphins release Savon Ahmed, which is, honestly, I'm wishing Savon Ahmed the best. I think, his time was done with the Dolphins when we drafted Jalen Wright. That pretty much was he had no chance of making the roster. He's been injured. I do think Savon is definitely a NFL level player, and he'll find a home somewhere. And they also waived injured linebacker Ezekiel Vandenberg. Definitely tough for him because it seemed like he was kind of making some plays at camp and then got injured in both preseason games. Yeah, I think that's all the injuries. Really, the injuries suck. Really feels like the only main person who has a chance of not, Bradley Chubb won't play, but out of the starters, Really, the only ones who might miss the start of the season is Isaiah Wynn and Odell Beckham because they're still in the PUP. But with these injuries, it does make this roster push pretty interesting at the end because if you look at this, like specifically the defensive back room, there's so many people that they have to keep, like, maybe usually you keep 10 DBs. Sometimes teams keep 11. I think the Dolphins will keep 11. I wouldn't be shocked if there's injuries at certain spots where the Dolphins end up keeping like 12 DBs on the initial roster and then try to sneak one of those guys onto the practice squad later on. Because they have a lot of players here, like really don't know what to expect. Like the Nick Needhams, the Marcus Mays, who have played good. Like Marcus May played much better in that second preseason game, and but then that means do you keep Patrick McMorris, who's played good, and then out of the rookies, Storm Duck was really good in this second preseason game. One of the most impressive players in that game. He's just been extremely good. Isaiah Johnson has been pretty good in both games as well, and he's also like a big traits guy that you could develop. Has this like skill set, like you don't see many guys of his size in his length, was just pretty nice. And then there's Jason Maitre, a guy who I feel like Maitre. I don't know how to say his name, but Jason Maitre. He's been very good as well in the slot, playing in the nickel. He actually got first look in that preseason 2 game. Like he was the first in out of the UDFA DBs. He does play nickel, so maybe that was just how the rotation played out. But he's been dominant near the line of scrimmage, great in the run game. I'm going to do a video on him soon because I haven't done any on him yet. He's a guy I'm really trying to get on the practice squad, and I think there's a chance, even though he's been good in the preseason games, the reason I think there's a chance for him is because when they initially signed him, he wasn't like an initial UDFA signing. He was a guy that had to go through a rookie camp. So that means not a lot of teams had eyes on him, that none of them saw him as a priority. So the only way that he would get signed is like really just impressed with the preseason stuff. But yeah, that whole UDFA DB room, like there's a world where none of them make it because there's just too many bodies, too many players to keep. Like they already have 11 guys that you could potentially keep, just like with your like who you're expecting to keep. It depends if Cam Smith is another one who like maybe he's not here for the start of the season, so that could change things. So maybe he's on an injury list, so that would bump another spot. But like you're expecting Fuller, Poyer, Holland, Ramsey, Cater Kohu, Saran Neal, Cam Smith, Ethan Bonner, Marcus May, Elijah Campbell, Nick Needham, and that's 11 right there. And that's not accounting any of the UDFA DBs and the Patrick Morris, who was a 6th-round pick. That room is going to be very, very difficult. Tight end room is interesting depending on how the wide receiver room plays out. It seems like we know who the wide receivers will be that would make the initial roster now. I guess there could be an extra one that surprises, but depends what happens with OBJ. Injuries just change up everything. It's our time. Let's get it. Dude, I hope so. I mean, definitely the best chance. This team is really stacked from top to bottom. Like, if this is the hardest 53-man cut in a long time, especially at certain positions, I think the DB room is really tough. The D-line room is going to be really tough. And then there's some other spots that are still up for grab in other rooms. Anything else? Players I want to talk about. Yeah, I mean, like players that stood out in the secondary, even outside of the UDFA DBs, like other DBs, like Elijah Campbell played really well in special teams. Marcus May played way better in preseason week 2 than he did in week 1, which bumps up his shots. Like Jordan Colbert, another UDFA DB, actually played pretty decent in this game. Love your tape breakdowns. Where did you learn football strategies, including footwork and body positioning? Thanks in advance. Yeah, so I mean, I grew up playing football. Obviously, that's like where it all started. Just like my love for the game. And I always feel like I just had like a natural football mind for it. But then I just started like studying stuff. Like I knew wide receiver and DB pretty well, just like from playing it, and then studying stuff on YouTube, looking at other people break down film, watching like, Googling things, like reading different articles, watching, coaches explain things. But then I also did like the Scouting Academy, which is like run by ex-NFL scouts, and they teach you like how to write scouting reports and study different traits and what to look for at each position. That stuff helps. And then just going from there, then you like meet a bunch of people who know stuff. So, but that's kind of like how it started. What else is there to talk about? I thought, a couple other things. Some players that we got to see. I thought we got to see some of the starting offense. Obviously, it was nice to see Tua and all them out there. Tua looked very, very good. It's preseason, so I don't want to put too much stock into all of it, but I liked how they used Johnny Smith. I liked what I saw from Julian Hill a lot. Those two players excite me with their usage at the tight end position. I thought the motions being used at the tight end position was very unique. And I think we're still going to see a lot of 21 personnel. I think with the injured receivers, we're just going to see more 12 personnel to start this year too. I think once the receivers are healthy, they're going to, especially OBJ, they're going to try to get more 11 personnel out there. But yeah, that should be interesting. And then Achane. Achane's usage was very interesting. I liked how they used him in the receiving game. He just looks really good. He looks a little more powerful too. But his role will be very fun to watch as the season goes on. Anything else I have written down? Oh yeah, Driscoll. Driscoll has been one of the best linemen out of the UDF, or not the UDF, the preseason players. I feel like he's been the one that's been most impressive to me as at a consistent level of Driscoll. I think Driscoll should, honestly, if the O-line to start the season, if Isaiah Wynn doesn't start the season, and I think Driscoll should start at right guard over Eichenberg. That's just my opinion. I just think he fits the scheme better. I think he's more athletic. I think he can give you, I think Eichenberg, Driscoll does look more physical than expected, which is a big thing. I think Eichenberg can do maybe a better job in the running game creating push than Driscoll can, but I think Driscoll just can cut off people better. He's more consistent with his athleticism, better out in space, and I think he'd be better in pass protection. And I think he's proven. I think he should be given a chance, to be honest. But yeah, there's so many injuries. That's really why the 53 can just change up so much because of how many injuries there are, man. Like the D-line room. I'll talk about the D-line room. We got to see, because I do have some concern. Like from what I've seen from the defense so far, I really like how aggressive it is. I like the blitzes that Weaver's bringing. I like how people are bought in. I like the physicality that's being played with. I do have some questions when it comes to the run defense. Now, we do need to see it live, not in the preseason. I do have some question marks though, because I have a lot of comfortability in the secondary. I think a lot of the guys on the front can get after the passer, but I don't know if we don't have the greatest edges right now to set the edge. That's some concerns. The linebackers can fly around the field, and I think they'll make some good plays versus the run, but I do think there might be some consistency issues because they are not the biggest guys. They're very athletic players, and they will make some big splash plays. But some consistency if the D-line doesn't hold up. But yeah, I do I'm interested to see how that plays out. But I do like how aggressive they've been getting downfield. The DBs need to help out in the running game for sure. What else was there? Oh yeah, I guess I'm sure everyone's seen the Brian Flores stuff. Tua opening up about it. I don't really think it needs to be talked about too much anymore because I think it's time to move on. But Tua was just asked a question, he answered it. I think Flores responded today. I saw a little bit of that video. I've dealt with, when I played in high school, I had a coach who was kind of like what Tua was talking about, and they just they really do try to ruin your love for the game. There was a time senior year I was I just don't want to play anymore because I was getting yelled at by my coach, screamed at for other players that made mistakes. At one point, I was I played safety and I had to he would give me the signals and I would have to call it out to the rest of the defense. But honestly, he was so bad and his calls were terrible. I just started calling other coverages because he was yelling at me no matter what anyway. So I just started calling my own stuff, and we got better. He kept calling cover 0 and we couldn't get after the quarterback. Even when we blitzed everyone, we're running 0, not getting after the quarterback. I'm dude, we're not running 0 anymore. But yeah, definitely glad the growth that Tua's had though, and I'm very glad Mike McDaniel's the coach. Thoughts on OBJ by week 4, still on PvP, playing or cut? I wouldn't say cut. My guess would be by week 4, I'm guessing playing. It feels like I know some people have feel it might not. It feels like the Will Fuller situation or something. To me, when Will Fuller, he just wasn't even around. We weren't even getting anything. McDaniel just keeps the injuries pretty tight to begin with. We'll find out by I think by September 4th or something. I think he has to say what is going on with players. But I do have a feeling that OBJ, he's considered week to week. It feels like McDaniel's getting more and more positive when he talks about it. I'm not that concerned. So by week 4, I'm guessing that he's playing. Some coaches, yeah, I mean, there's just like, there's a difference between like hard coaching and just like, yeah, like deflating someone, like bringing them down. Like there has to be like a respect thing. You know what I'm saying? That you like build between people, like because even like some people will say like Tua's soft. Tua was under Saban, and him and Saban and Saban's one of the old school hard nosed tough coaches there is out there, and him and Tua had a great relationship. Even like Tua's like dad feels like one of those types of people, So I don't think that was the problem. He really just thought Flores was a horrible person or something. But yeah, I had written down here. I still think the Dolphins should add an offensive lineman for sure. I think that's the part we're at, especially in the interior. I wonder if that will happen by trade. I think if someone opens up, they will be willing, that they like and thinks fits the system. I think they will be trying to trade. I saw that Graham Barton won the starting center job for Buccaneers. So I wonder if Hainsey would be up for availability, who was their center last year, and that would be their backup. I wouldn't mind bringing him in to potentially be a backup center or a potentially even starting guard if he won the job. But I do think the Dolphins need to still add one to the O-line room, especially with the Keon Smith injury. Isaiah Wynn might not be ready for the season. I think there's an opening on the O-line that they can add. Because I really don't want to keep like a Lester Cotton to start the season, to be honest. Ryder, why hasn't the Dolphins hired you yet? God, I wish. That'd be sick. Backup QB. God, I think backup QB is the one where I just have the least amount of interest in as a group. Like I don't have confidence in either of them. I really have no clue who's going to win. I am all for, I think the thing I'd be most for is just move on from White, move on from Skyler. If someone's out there, really, I don't think they're going to do that, by the way. I think they're going to stick with one of them and then try to get the other one in the practice squad if that's possible. But if someone came available, like I saw Dorian Thompson-Robinson, they were getting trade talks to Browns. Honestly, I wouldn't mind bringing on DTR. I wouldn't mind bringing in like a QB to develop or something either. That's like on the practice squad or something. Yeah, exactly. I agree, Flum. That's why I've like not put too much worry about the backup QB position. At the end of the day, for most teams, that's the case. There's obviously some outliers where it's not the case, especially if you're in the situation where your backup might be even better than your starter. But that's clearly not the case for the Dolphins. Honestly, especially for the Dolphins, because our system is so much better with Tua in the game. Did I have any? What else did I have written down? Oh yeah, we need Brewer to come back too. Brewer, I think even Kendall Lamb didn't practice today either, which is, I think that the Dolphins have like 20 plus injuries, and it's like most of them are minor, which is good, or like week to week, which isn't too bad. Like it obviously could be much worse, but it's like they're all players that like will probably have some sort of impact on the roster, which is crazy. Yeah, I guess the only ones that have really returned were Bonner and Ramsey returned. Fortson returned. I think Fortson returning is actually pretty big for him because I think with the receiver injuries, they could keep a fourth tight end, and Fortson has a wide receiver like skill set. They might want to keep him on that initial roster. I think that gives him a chance. I really am starting to feel that way. Let's see. Reading some quotes. Frank Smith, we're talking about how the third year in the system is so beneficial. He said, got year 1, guys are learning. Year 2, they know where to be and have a good understanding where to be. But by year 3, they know where to be, understand what they need to do. And outside of just knowing their role, they understand all the roles and how we are trying to manipulate the defense. So that's pretty nice. Oh yeah, Dolphins also signed people. Oh yeah, and then did I say Tyreek Hill had an injury? Seems minor, so I'm not too worried about it. But yeah, Tyreek Hill has an injury too. And then Dolphins signed a few people. They signed Xander Horvath, who's like a running back / fullback. They also signed Anthony McFarland. Anthony McFarland's really the only name I know. I know he was like a running back from Maryland. Pretty explosive guy. I think he was playing in like the UFL or something recently. All these guys are just camp bodies, and we needed running backs because you're not going to play Mostert, Achane in the final game. Jalen Wright is still recovering from an injury. You don't want to play him. Jeff Wilson is just returning from an injury. You don't want to play him. And then Brooks got the concussion, so he's not going to play. So really, the only running back who will probably play in that third game is like Anthony McFarland, and then that fullback you signed. And then they also signed a couple of, like Daquan Jackson as a linebacker, which makes sense with some of the injuries. And then Jaden Jenke, who I believe is a receiver. Well, I have a feeling he was like from like one of the like either like South Dakota State or North Dakota State. I remember that name from the draft. But yeah, those are the people we signed. Oh yeah, this tweet I want to talk about because even Chris Kaufman tweeted it, like the Dolphins have been 70-30 this preseason using 11 versus 12 personnel. Not using 21, which they don't usually do in preseason. But I wonder if that's like a sign that we're going to start seeing more 11 personnel this season, which will be interesting. I think if the receivers are healthy, we will see. That's the reason, big reason they added OBJ is so they can run 11 personnel and they can run with Tyreek and Waddle more in the slot because a lot of their backups are slot players. So when you did have them come into the game, like Tyreek and Waddle kind of had to play on the outside a lot of the times, or, you know, two guys in the slot. But I do think we'll see more 11 out of the group. We're still going to run a lot of 21, especially with Achane. That's why I'm not super worried about some of the wide receiver injuries. As long as you have Tyreek and Waddle, I think you'll be fine. You obviously want to have more depth and better players there, but I still think you can get away with it when having some of the tight end upgrades that we have with Jonnu Smith, some of the other guys, I think, getting more involved, and then Achane being more involved as a receiver. Because I wouldn't be surprised if Achane just ends up being like our third guy at some point in this season. Also, Anthony Weaver talked about Channing Tindall. He said, I'm so proud of that kid just because I know nobody puts more pressure on himself than him. You see the results on the field. He's still on the climb. That's interesting. Very interesting to see. And Weaver brought up Tindall, and he also got asked, I believe he got asked specifically about Isaiah Johnson and Storm Duck. And then in that same question, he brought up Maitre and McMorris, how those young DBs are working harder than anyone. Will be really interesting to see how that battle looks. But with the Anthony Walker injury, Tindall has been playing pretty decently in the preseason. I still think, especially rushing the passer, Tindall's been getting after it, having 2 sacks. Honestly, might be a specific role for him, just blitzing, or maybe even becoming an edge player over time, like what could fit his skill set better. That will be interesting, but it is like Duke Riley, they probably want to keep around because he's a veteran presence, but like Curtis Bull and Channing Tindall are pushing from their preseason film, so it'll be interesting. Yeah, River Craycraft tweeted that out. Here's some. Oh yeah, here's one of those. I was talking about Achane earlier. Here's where they motion him out wide. They hit the whole shot with him. Love seeing this, especially because they have to respect this. I love that Skylar took the shot. This might be Skylar's best play because it's the whole shot. It was the first preseason game they did this to Tanner Connor. He also tried to hit the Slater to Durham Smythe. It's pretty funny because I like this play design. When you do this and you have a running back go out there like Achane or a tight end like Tanner Connor, the corner who is playing the flat, like they're seeing that and they're like, okay, I'm not worried about a running back or a tight end. Like I'm going to try, instead of carrying down the field, because they should be carrying this down the field a little bit more because this half defender is playing, deep. They hit this, they're playing Tampa too. But he's trying to jump this flat quickly because he wants to make the big play. So he doesn't gain as much depth as he should have. And Skylar is just taking that rip to the whole shot. You have to anticipate this stuff. This is something Tua obviously can do pretty well. Having a player like Achane that can do this, receivers, being prepared, all being on the same page, that's kind of huge. And God, I'm excited to see Achane kind of really be more involved in that way. Yeah. Benito Jones has been out for a little while now too. I feel like, God, the D-line room is another room that's interesting because like Sealer and Campbell are obviously going to be like your 2 starters, especially in like nickel. When you're out in base, I'm guessing Benito Jones will be a starter if he's healthy. But he's not healthy, but I do expect him to make the team. Now, after that is where it gets interesting because Gallimore has been dominant as a pass rusher. Really, really good as a pass rusher. Like, I want to keep Gallimore on the team. I don't know if that's how they're looking at it. Deshaun Hand, I feel like, is the fourth guy that for the coaches. He's played pretty solid. He's got a lot of early reps, and then he doesn't play a ton after that. So that makes me feel like the Dolphins feel good about Deshaun Hand. Brandon Peely's been really good. It feels like with the cut of Tier Tart, that helps him the most. I feel like Peely's going to make the roster as your backup nose. I think even Calais Campbell talked about today. His movement skills at his size are very, very impressive. And then you have players like Jonathan Harris, who's still in the conversation. Leonard Payne won't make the team, but he's an interesting D lineman to keep on the practice squad. And then Isaiah Mack has been way better than expected. He's another guy that could play like a nose one, but he's also done a pretty good job versus the run, made some impact pass rush plays. Another name to keep an eye on for that room. I have no clue how it's going to play out, especially if Benito Jones doesn't play to start the year, then that just gives an extra body for like one of those guys to push up or not. To me, they're only going to keep 5. I've kind of done the math, and it kind of checks out that you probably only keep 5 D linemen. There's a world they keep 6. But we'll see how that plays out with some of the injuries. Scrolling down. Yeah, the Dolphins really don't have any receivers to keep after the guys that are healthy. Like obviously after like Ezukanma and Malik and stuff like that. Is this? Oh yeah, this is the. I talked about this a little bit in that video I made, the first team offense video. But this is very intriguing to me. This ends up being like a counter type thing, and Durham pulls up into the hole. But I just really want to talk about the motion and how this like it basically sets up like Julian Hill just takes one step to the inside basically, and then it gets him the leverage advantage, and it almost also creates like the counter type effect that we're talking about, where like he becomes a kick out guy. Instead of having like 2 people pull across, like usually you'd have like maybe a guard pull across, he kicks out, and then Durham pulls up into the hole and they're like the lead blocker. But it creates that same effect where now you give him that leverage advantage, but you don't have to pull someone. Now Hill can just cut him off and, you know, get to that inside leverage, and he basically becomes your kick out defender without even having to pull someone. It's very intriguing, and I like this usage for Julian Hill because he's very physical at the point of attack, and I also think he's got some decent movement skills to him. Very excited. I think Julian Hill is one of the ones who might have the biggest step up from year 1 to year 2 out of all the players, which is fun. Where did Patrick Paul go wrong? Like in the preseason week 2 game? I'm going to do a video on Paul pretty soon, probably in the next couple days. I think when it comes down to Paul, it actually wasn't that different of his compared to his week 1 game. It's just in this game he gave up the sack. In the first game, he had a couple bad pass pro reps that just didn't turn into sacks, whether the ball came out in time or something like that. I would say he had a couple negative reps, and he just didn't dominate as much in the running game. There is that one play. Let me see if I have it, actually. I might be able to find it. Oh, yeah, here it is. Like, this play is super impressive. You might have seen this on Twitter. This will be in the film breakdown. This movement skills for a guy of his size out in space is insane. You should not be able to move like that. Like, he blocks him off the screen. When you're blocking guys off the screen, you know you're doing a good job. And he pancakes that poor, was it a DB? Yeah. And like squares him up really, really nicely. Shouldn't be able to move like that. I think in pass pro, it was pretty similar. Like he gave that sack. His biggest problem is he struggles with the inside counter. Like he will overset and then isn't able to respond pretty nicely. So there's things he needs to work on with, you know, getting to the right spot with his depth and stuff. How do you find this All-22 film? Is it some? Yeah, it's with NFL Plus. It's like I forget what it costs. It's a subscription to NFL Plus. But yeah, he really has struggled. Mainly, like all of his losses have been on that inside move, just oversetting. So getting to the right depth and then better hand placement. Because there was still a lot of positive pass pro reps. You just can't get beat. He just got beat really badly on that one play. I'll definitely go over that again. We got, OBJ and Jonnu should help a lot. I'm very excited to see Jonnu. And then obviously we haven't seen anything from OBJ yet, but I think he'll be a nice addition. Honestly, I might do a video on Jordan Brooks too, because Jordan Brooks was playing, man. Like, first of all, he just looks so explosive. Here he is blitzing. Let him just get under this left guard. Like, he hits a dip and rip on this left guard. and show some bend. And the ball's coming out quick into the flat. Like, it's just a quick out, and he was going to hit the quarterback that quickly. And he was flying around the field the whole time. I loved what I saw from Brooks. There was like a couple reps where I'm like, I want to see him get off the block a little bit better, but I love how quick and fast he was playing. I think that's a lot of the plays that I wanted to kind of show. Yeah, I think tomorrow I'll probably do a Jason Maitre and Storm Duck video. Today I did Ezukanma and Mo Kamara, yeah. Who both had pretty quality games. I like what I saw from Mo Kamara in his first action. Gave me some pretty good faith with his run blocking ability and some explosiveness. And then Ezukanma was a big game for him. Maybe Patrick Paul can have some. I'll say this. When it comes to Patrick Paul, I didn't really like. If you watch Patrick Paul and Austin Jackson's college film, I was not really a fan of either. I think they both had kind of similar struggles when it came to technique, except the difference is they're both good athletes, but Paul was just like a different level of big at his athleticism. And then coming into the NFL, they both still struggle with technique. I'll actually say I think Patrick Paul is farther ahead than Austin Jackson was as a rookie. Like, I feel better right now about Paul's development than I would about Jackson's development. And I think he has more of a, like, he's also pretty smart from just like hearing him talk and stuff like that. I think it's just the technical issues. And I think he's like got more physical athletic upside than what Jackson had. And watch Easy Evid. Oh yeah. Posted that like, I forget when I posted. I recorded it a little bit ago, but I just made it go public. Yeah, any like thing you guys want to talk about position wise? What you guys think the 53 is gonna look like? Any players you guys want to make it but you're not sure? You have any of the roster bubble guys that you guys are like, that guy I want on the team? Find a way. Because I have a few. There's a lot of them. Scroll it up. I think those were all the notes that I had. Yeah, let me see. What's up, Brian's Brains? How you doing? Any players that I didn't get to talk about? Honestly, okay, one player that I want to see more from is Quentin Bell. Because I've heard going into this training camp, I had not really seen Quentin Bell play at all. There's very little film of him playing at the NFL level. And then training camp, he was hyped up a lot. And he's still been hyped up a lot for how well he's done in training camp. And then the preseason, he's only been playing like the first quarter in both preseason games. So it's not a lot of film to go off of. It's not. So I'm just been like a little disappointed, you know? I'm not saying like anything like, I'm not like saying like, oh, he's good or bad just based off, you know, barely any play. But I was expecting to see a little bit more. He's had a couple good impact plays. He's played with good hustle, and you can clearly see his athleticism. Like that's all I expected that. I just wanted to see more of like the pass rush plan. I do expect Bell to make the roster and see some playing time. So he's the one I'm excited to watch, but I do still need to see more because I haven't been like blown away yet. What'd you guys say? Let's see. I want Storm. McMorris too. Here we go. Yeah, I want Storm. Yeah, those are two guys. I would say Storm, out of the corners, has been the best in coverage. I think he's been the best in coverage. I think Maitre has been a very good player near the line of scrimmage. I think Isaiah Johnson has really showed off his physicality and his ability to hit people. All very intriguing DBs. And you guys mentioned McMorris. Yes, I want McMorris on this team. I feel like McMorris is the one you drafted. If you cut him, he is... I would say, like, I would be surprised if he didn't get claimed, you know? Like, I think if you cut any of these guys, you're trying to get them all in the practice squad. Like, I think the Dolphins are looking for all of them to get on the practice squad. Now, that's unlikely it happens. I think Maitre is probably the one with the best chance of getting through claims. But I think Storm Duck gets claimed because he was a priority UDFA. I think the reason Duck has the best chance at the UDFAs is, one, he's played really good in the preseason. Probably been the most standout to me. Two, you gave him a bonus. Like, when they signed him, he got a signing bonus. That means you already like saw him slightly above the other guys. And then Isaiah Johnson, I think, would probably get claimed too because he's looked pretty good in preseason film. He's been pretty standout, and he has really good physical traits. Let's see. I also need another 1,300 yard season from 17. Yeah, down for that. I'm trying to get Waddle in fantasy this season. I'm in a pretty good spot pick wise, I think, to get Waddle on the turn in the third round. Bill, I haven't seen him do anything in the preseason. He's had in the first game, he only played a couple drives, and I would say he had one good play versus the run, which was solid, and he had another play where he came in unblocked. You could see his speed. This past game, there wasn't really much to go off of. He hasn't had too many true pass rush reps. That's why I'm not putting too much on him yet. He did have one really nice hustle play where I remember that Jack Driscoll run. He chased Driscoll down hard, so I had to give him credit for that. But yeah, other than that, not too impressed. Chop needs to learn how to set the edge. I agree. I hope Cam Smith makes the roster. Cam will make the roster. He might technically with the injury, he might technically start the year on an injury list. But I would be pretty surprised if Cam didn't make the roster. Cam actually got playing time ahead of Neal in the preseason game. Honestly, it was a little hard on Cam, but he has shown some development. Yeah, I think if Cam stays healthy, he will. I don't know if he'll live up to maybe the second round thing, second round value, but I think he'll be a solid player. Watching the Chop video, even in the plays he made a mistake, dude looked. Yeah, I'm not too worried. To me, with Chop and Paul, I was expecting growing pains because they were players that needed development. I just think Chop has a very specific path to being productive, even with his development. Paul, not necessarily. There's just player ahead of him. You're not going to get random snaps at offensive tackle unless people get hurt. But yeah, it's nothing crazy. The problems that I see is keeping anyone on the practice squad without. Yeah, I mean, right. I don't know if you talked about him, but what about? Oh, actually, Brian, I did talk about him. I don't know. I just saw someone mentioned that he might get traded, right? I forget who tweeted it out, but I saw that there was teams talking about him, and I was honestly, I mean, I did interned at UCLA when DTR was still there, many years ago. But I like DTR. I think DTR would be better than what we have. So if it was a late round pick or something, I'd throw it their way and roll with DTR because I think you could develop him too. I think there's something to work with there, and I also think he would be better than what we have. Now, I would need to watch this film because I haven't watched him play in a while just to see how well I think he would fit the scheme, but I would look into that for sure. Yeah, I mean, this is just a problem with a lot of teams. I feel like the Dolphins are going to they're going to get annihilated, man. This is going to be the most maybe ever players that we cut get claimed, you know? I think that will happen for sure. Why was it Storm Duck a first rounder? Dude, he should be a first rounder off the name alone, you know? Is Bolton making it? I think if Anthony Walker starts the year not on the main roster because of injuries, I think Bolton makes it. I actually do. I think he's played too well in the preseason, and apparently he had a really good practice today. I'm probably going to do a Curtis Bolton video soon, within the next 2 days. I think tomorrow I'm going to do Matry and Duck, and then after that I'll probably do Paul and Bolton. That sounds about right, yeah. I think. I don't know if there's anyone else that I've missed that I kind of want to do a video on this week. I kind of want to do a Jordan Brooks video too. I might do that on Friday or something. I don't think there's anyone else I desperately need to do a video on, so yeah, we're good there. But we'll get to everyone before the season starts that I feel hasn't had a film breakdown. I'll probably do Tyndall at some point. Even if we don't even know if Tyndall will make the roster or not, but I'll get to guys like that. What else? He might be on the trading block. Yeah, it's a message about DTR. Definitely possible. Just knowing because if we got either from Latu, Turner, or even Murphy, it would have been instant impact. Feel Chop Field more development. Yeah, well, he was definitely more development. That's why he went a little bit later, you know? Dolphins got unlucky in the draft. If you just look at the draft, how it played out, they got lucky that 6 QBs went. That was ideal, 6 quarterbacks, but not a single corner going ruined that thing because every single player that I was super high on I was like, oh, that'd be like a great value at 21. They all went right before, like, yeah, you said or even Murphy, dude. Byron Murphy looks really good for Seattle. Like even like Fatanu went one pick before. I think he's hurt right now, but that's unfortunate. I know Graham Barton has been really good. Like he had a lights out preseason. He might have been better in preseason week 1 than any other rookie. Oh yeah. Yeah, I would be down for DTR for a 6th or a 7th. It's something I would consider, at least. I just hope everyone gets healthy. Oh, 100%. I think health is just the biggest thing for this team. Yeah, I think we keep 4 tight end. Yeah, I was talking about this. I think we might keep 4 tight ends, like if we needed to. I think with the injuries to the receiver room, especially Craycraft going down and then OBJ potentially not being ready for the start of the season, I think that really makes 4 tight ends much more likely, especially because your 4th tight end will either be Connor or Fortson, and those guys can both give you receiver type reps, which is nice. I think that would, because before that I would have said no. I feel like it would have just been Durham Smythe, Johnny Smith, and Julian Hill. That would have been your tight ends, That would have been your tight end room, and I would have been down to keep 4 times, but I just don't think the Dolphins see it that way. But yeah. Walker's hurt. Yeah, Walker, he's been hurt for a couple weeks now, so he hasn't played like at all. We don't know what it is. I forget if McDaniel talked about it. I don't think he talked about it like it was that serious, but he still hasn't been seen, I don't think. Heard Bolin had 2 fumbles and a sack in plays in practice today. Yes, I also had read that he was like all over the field. And if he's doing that in practice, that's where just the players are just, like the team and the players are seeing that. That's really good for his stock. I do want to see him in the final game, though. I pray I never have to see Duke Riley play meaningful football games again. Honestly, there's a chance he doesn't make it, but yeah, I think there's a chance you do see him play in meaningful football games again. Liam is always getting knocked down 1-on-1. It's funny. I posted a video on Twitter of just like to his touchdown pass, and like half the comments were just about Liam being on the ground, which I found funny. It wasn't even that bad of a rep from Liam, to be honest. Like, he didn't have it on the ground at the bottom end of the play. But yeah. We run the ball well in 2 tight end sets. Yeah, I think we're gonna have it because last year we only had 2 tight ends on the initial roster. We ended up going to 3, but that was like they had to do stuff with the whole, how you move people around. The 2 guys I wanted were Guyton and Nealon, and they both look like studs for the Cowboys. Yeah, I actually follow some Cowboys fans, and I know Guyton and Nealon have looked really good. I know because Guyton's been working with what's his name, Duke Manyweather, I think, who's an O-line guru, and he's made Guyton develop really fast. And I know Nealon's just been, I think, not dominant from the get-go. Easy Malik making 53. Yeah, I think they're pretty much guaranteed now, both of them, obviously, with the River Craycraft injury, because honestly, I do think like if OBJ started the year on PUP, you probably would have just seen all of them make it, like Craycraft, Barrios, Easy E, and Malik. Because usually would keep 6, and that's like 7 with everybody. But now with River definitely missing time, like it's going to be Waddle, Tyreek, OBJ if he's healthy, Barrios, Malik, and Easy E. There's like no one else even in the conversation. The only other one I could see sticking around and on the practice squad would be Braylon Sanders, because it feels like they're kind of high on Braylon Sanders, but he's also injured right now. But I don't really have a strong take on Braylon. Why does Omar say Malik isn't good and won't get claimed to make the team? Is he saying? I saw him say something about Malik. I don't know if he said wouldn't get claimed if he didn't make the team. If he says that, like if he said that, that's truly insane. Like he has no idea what he's talking about. Like Malik would get instantly claimed. I think Malik has shown he still needs to, I think Malik Washington's best ball as receivers ahead of him. I think he's looked good on special teams. I think he's done a good job blocking, and sometimes that's half the battle. Like I would be surprised if he didn't make the team. Like yes, he's a 6th-round pick. He probably won't see much early playing time, but I do think he'll be fine. I mean, wasn't Omar also saying like the same things about Achane last year, like, or not as negative, but he was saying like Ahmed over Achane, like. Do you think our expected O-line lineup is decent when healthy, or is it still trash? I think if it's fully healthy, it's fine. I wouldn't say it's trash. I would say, yeah, it's probably decent enough. If you have all 5, it's definitely decent enough, especially when you consider our offense. Like, if you considered certain other teams and that was their O-line, they might be screwed. But you consider, like, how quickly they get rid of the ball, like, how, like, our system is set up, how McDaniel does things. I think fully healthy, if it's Isaiah Wynn and then your right guard is, like, Robert Jones or Driscoll or whatever, and then Aaron Brewer's healthy, I think you're fine at tackle. Tackle, we saw how we're fine if healthy last year. I think it's fine. But I think the problem is you have a decent amount of depth players, but you just don't have any really good, like, your starters isn't too great, you know? So I think it would start to go down for sure. On college, yeah. I would be shocked if they waived Malik and he didn't get picked up. That would be shocking to me. But I do want to see, like, the O-line, like the starting O-line. But it was weird because obviously it wasn't this, like, it was partially the starting group in that preseason, that week 1 drive or the week 2 drive. It was the first drive of the game with Tua. It wasn't many of them. It was like Kendall Lamb at left tackle. Left guard was like Cotton, I think. No, left guard was Jones. But center was Eichenberg, right guard was Cotton, right tackle was Austin Jackson. So we only had a couple of the starters in. And they did not do a very good job running, like, with their run blocking. Who's your top 3 favorites on the team? Okay. Usually it ends up being like the people like, okay, I would say Waddle is in the top 3 for sure. I'm trying to think if there's like any like underrated players that are like for sure in my top 3. There's some players I like a lot, probably more than most. Like, I would say I probably like Kader Kohu more than most, but he's not in my top 3. I would say Waddle. Any other? I would say it's Waddle and A-Chan because I loved them both pre-draft a lot, and then they went to the Dolphins and they've both been great. And the other one I might just be Tua, but that's kind of a boring top 3. But yeah, that's probably what it actually is. I like Jalen Phillips a lot. I like Jordan Brooks a lot. They would be up there, something like that. I think we should let Burritos walk, invest in Easy Eat, and like. Well, the thing is, I think all of them are going to stay now, guys. I would have agreed before if Craycraft didn't get hurt. Like, I would have been like, yeah, we should probably. I would be like, yeah, like Barrios go. I don't think they would have done that anyways, just to be fair. But I think with everyone, like, now they have the numbers to keep all, like, Barrios is going to stay, Malik's going to stay, and Easy is going to stay. Taj or Malik anyway? Well, Taj is on IR that he's not going to get waived. He's just stashed for next year, and Malik's not getting waived. Dolphins are, yeah. I don't know how much rookie play we'll see right away from. I think we'll see Chop pretty quickly with the edge injuries. Like, you're going to see Chop, but it's going to be in a designated role. You're not going to see Patrick Paul all year unless there's injuries. Who else we got? You're going to see Jalen Wright at some point. Maybe not a ton right away, but I think Jalen Wright will see playing time. Muhammad Kamara, you'll see a little bit of, but when it becomes fully healthy, you probably won't see much. I think Malik, you'll see some on like special teams, and then if there's some injuries, he'll definitely see some playing. I think he'll be in the rotation a little bit, but not a whole ton of playing time. Waddle, Phillips, Austin Jackson. Is that your 3 favorite? Barrios cut. See, I would be, with the injuries at wide receiver, I would be very surprised if Barrios ends up going now. But yeah. Because Rivers going to miss a lot of time. And OBJ is still not back. And even with OBJ back, that still leaves you with 6 receivers. And the Dolphins are going to keep 6, I think. Can you sign guys off other teams' practice squad if you put on roster? Yeah, you can. That's also a possibility. You can go out there and try to. Well, this is how it goes first, right? So you waive people, and they go on like the waiver claim, like, and then do they pass through waiver claim? Every team can put a claim on those players that were waived, and basically it goes basically by draft order, like what the draft order was like. So the Dolphins will be like, what were we, like 21? We'll be like 21th in order to get the claim. And then if they go through unclaimed, then you can sign to anyone's practice squad. You could sign to someone else's practice squad, and then at any point you can sign someone off of the practice squad if they want to sign with you. Yeah. Yeah, I'm very excited. We're getting close. One more week of preseason, and then we'll have like a week off, and then it's the regular season. We're almost there. Thank God. I think I'm probably going to end stream here in a sec, but next stream I will probably do my first 53 breakdown. We're going to do it one day before the third preseason game. I don't know why, because things are going to change after the third preseason game, but I just want to try to like, it's just more for fun. You should predict what's going to happen. I think I have a pretty good idea at most positions, but there are certain spots where I'm like, it could go either way. And injuries change things drastically. Apparently Cooper Beebe is playing great for the Cowboys. Yeah, apparently he started slow, but once he got action in the preseason, he started looking good. I've seen that, yeah. Yeah, River getting hurt absolutely sucks because I think he would have gotten some nice playing time for us. It just makes like the 53-man prediction at receiver more easy, I guess, because now you know who's going to make the team with the River injury. But yeah, I really wanted River to see play because I feel like he was just playing well. And he was probably the most reliable guy outside of your top ones. That's where we get QB2. Possibly. I just think if the Dolphins were, it depends who gets cut. I just think if the Dolphins were super interested in QB2, they probably would have already been looking for people and added more like people to the squad and tried to, develop someone, but I think they just might roll with what they got. I feel like next year is where we'll change for QB. After Tua, Okay, so I think that will be it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll stream on Thursday. Still in film breakdowns coming out every day or whatever. And then we'll do more film breakdowns after the preseason week 3 game and then going into the regular season. And then we'll get all of that. But yeah. Thank you guys for watching.